Hello and welcome to episode 175 of the Arena Regulars podcast. I'm Zach,
And I'm Jeff.
and we're your source for drunken Magic the Gathering arena content.
That's right. Just a couple of regular guys drinking some irregular beers and talking about Magic the Gathering, in particular, the online client MTG Arena.
That's right, we have some new cards to talk about this week because we just got a new set just injected into the arena client. So we'll jump around, see what's interesting with those this week. But first, each week we bring a beer, we drink it, we rate it on a scale from bronze to mythic, just like the tiers in Arena. So with that, Jeff, what is on tap?
Okay, this week we have our final beer from
Mm-hmm.
Cartwright Springs. This was a brewery I visited out near-ish Ottawa when I went
Mm-hmm.
there. We've had a few beers from them. It's been a wild ride. There's been some ups and some downs on this roller coaster of an experience with them. This one I had to save for last. This one is called Projet de Stage. Now, let me explain what Projet de Stage is and means.
Okay.
For those who don't know, I don't know if you have something similar to this in uh, the United States. I'm sure you do, but in Ontario, we might call this like a summative or a summative project. And so, projet de stage is like the big project you have to do in order to graduate.
Okay.
So it's
Like
like,
your thesis kind of?
yeah, it's sort of like a thesis, but it's particular in Quebec because Quebec high school goes to grade 11,
Mm-hmm.
and then they have something called Cégep, which is 2 years. It's kind of like between high school and university.
Right.
And so usually if you say projet de stage, you're talking about Cégep, which
Mm-hmm.
is like this is the big project you do to finish your like pre-university studies.
Time.
I
That would be considered like when they say grade 13, they're talking about that.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and like the rest of, like Anglophone Canada doesn't have grade 13 or anything like that anymore, so
Right.
we just have grade 12. But Quebec still has this sort of interesting 3-year high school, 2-year
Mm-hmm. In between.
pre-university,
Okay.
I would say Cégep is like closer to university than it is to high school in terms
Gotcha.
of how it operates. Um, I think Projet de Stage could be like a project in university too, or whatever, like a what do you like term project or something like I don't know what you might call that. But generally,
Yep.
when I hear that, I'm thinking, okay, this is like your last big
Mm-hmm.
what you
Hurrah.
got to do
Mm-hmm.
to graduate. So I figured it made sense for this to be the last one we drink
All
from
right.
Cartwright. I don't know what the story is, why it's called this. Like, is this a brewing school like
Project.
final project that the guy did to become a
Oh,
brewer? And that's the recipe he sort of graduated with? I don't know. Or is it just kind of like
cool name for a
yeah,
thing.
a name he liked? I don't know what style of beer it is because Pleasure de Stage is not like a style. It just says that.
It
That's
has
all it
anything to
says.
do with
I know it's 4.5%. So
great. Well, I'm excited for this one because now I have like no idea what's going on, and I
yeah.
that's exactly what I like to go into a beer or a movie or anything. It's just like I like almost knowing nothing. So
Is
the
this
fact
gonna be like dark? Is it gonna be golden? Is it gonna be
I'm gonna guess it's golden. If it's dark, I'm gonna be extremely surprised. But I'm excited to try it out. So Jeff, let's crack these
Part of
open.
me wants it to be an
Let's see.
amber, but we already had an
Oh,
amber from them.
we
So.
did. So this one has to be the stout, right?
Oh, we had a stout too.
That's true. Oh, I had a little taste. Oh my gosh.
Okay.
All right, so definitely a bit golden, but like the little sip I had from cracking it open was a surprising taste. So I don't know. We'll see. This is interesting. Anyway, with that, we have some magic news.
Yeah, it's pretty
Pioneer,
golden.
it's
You're
pretty
right.
golden. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Pioneer Masters is officially on Arena now, and so why are we still calling it Explorer? Is that a thing, or should we just call it Pioneer? What's happening?
Uh, Well, I think it's Explorer until it gets Dubious Challenge added to it.
Oh my God.
Because right now they're just different formats completely.
Of course, yeah, yeah. Without Dubious Challenge, then this is strictly different. If you're not aware, Pioneer Masters is a product that like WotC has been telling us that we're going to get on Arena for a very long time. We finally got it. We were supposed to get this like in 2021 or something. I'm pretty sure like this was years and years and years in the making. And so we finally have it. It's supposed to bring the Explorer format and the Pioneer format closer together. Because obviously being able to practice for your Pioneer tournaments on Arena is exactly what we need on Arena. This is like something that we should have been doing for a very long time previously. And there's a lot of projects that they've worked on that felt like they were taking away from this moment. So very happy that's finally here. And we get to kind of decide whether it is fully here or not, which is kind of the question of today. Like, should we consider this Pioneer or is it still Explorer and we're not at Pioneer quite yet? We'll get more into that. That's kind of what the whole episode's about. So we'll talk about that in the future. Also, we have the Arena Championship number 7 is this weekend, December 14th and 15th, and they are playing Standard. Sorry, I just got Jeff's first taste of this beer.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
It's anyway, it's something. Yeah, so anyway, that championship is this weekend. And we'll probably talk about it in future episodes. But yeah, they're playing Standard. Should be good. There's like 16 slots for the Pro Tour and the Arena Championship. And then if you win, you get to go to the World Championship. So important stuff there. It's kind of a small tournament. I think it's less than 50 people. But yeah, should be a good time. Always nice to be able to watch some competitive Magic being played over the weekend. That's televised and has televised. Sorry, that's in quotations.
Yeah.
Is being streamed in some capacity, and there's commentators.
Yeah.
All right,
And knowing their track record on things like that.
it works, yeah, super well on Arena, and people definitely don't accidentally get booted or have problems with connectivity issues or get DQ'd, or they don't have to replay top 8 matches. Or things like that. Yeah, that's
Even just like assuming all that works fine, watching it, there's always like a massive
something
delay on one of the players,
from
whoever's hand is being like
displayed.
scammed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, it's not. Anyways, maybe this one will be better.
They've had a hard time with these televised things. We've talked about this like a lot in the podcast history. We are also champions of this. We want them to do as best as they can, and we feel like it could be so great. And how
it comes
awesome.
from that place, right? Of just being like, oh man, if this hand was up to date with the game, it would be such a better so much more enjoyable viewing experience.
Oh man, if I could like pick any player to watch while they're drafting or see all of them at the same time if there's a limited format and be able to draft and you can just jump around to your heart's content, that would be amazing and definitely something that would be possible to do, but not something that they put energy towards because again, they see the numbers and there must not be enough people watching or caring. So
we're like the only people that want
we kind of are the only people. So that's all right. Anyway, we have some other news. So we were talking about Pioneer Masters. That's basically the last bit of something new that we have for Magic before the new year for 2025. So, of course, they're giving us some information about next year. So Aether Drift is the next set that's going to come out. We don't have any card previews or anything exciting like that. But we do have the Planeswalker guides, which tend to have a lot more information like story-wise of what's going on. And sometimes you can, learn a couple interesting things about whether either what planes are doing or like what the factions are going to be or things like that. But we do have some big news. They did officially tell us what 3 planes the Aether Drift Death Race will be on. So if you don't know, Aether Rift is like a racing set, and so everyone's on a different car or something, and they race through different planes to win the Girapur Grand Prix. Um, anyway, so they released the different planes, so they will be on Amonkhet, Muruganda, and Avishkar.
Oh,
So a couple of those are new to us. Amonkhet we do know. Muruganda, I don't think we've ever been there before, and I don't even know if it's been like. That's kind of the one that's supposed to be the newish one. That sounds like they had
yeah.
mentioned two returning planes and one new one, so I think this is the new one. Um,
Okay. The name seems somewhat familiar, but
mhm.
like I definitely can't place. Was there a battle for this, or was there
I don't think there's a invasion of Muruganda. We can definitely,
invasion? Yeah.
yeah, we can definitely check that out though. But the most interesting one is Avishkar. This is a or Avishkar. I'm actually should know the correct pronunciation, but I think it's Avishkar. That's what I've read in my mind. Um, but anyway, this is big news because that is the renaming of a past plane that we have had. So, as you could kind of guess, if the race is called the Girapur Grand Prix, Kaladesh should be involved in some way because Girapur is like the main city in Kaladesh. So this is the big news. They are rebranding and renaming Kaladesh. Um, and the new name is Avishkar. Yeah, that's what you need to know. Basically, what they had kind of found out, actually almost immediately after Kaladesh was announced, is that like in certain dialects of Hindi, uh, Kala or Kala is like a derogatory term, which they apparently didn't have enough people research this or figure it out that this could be possibly an issue. And there are multiple people who have brought this up over years. Shivam Bhatt is like a big content creator. Um, he's extremely spiritual and is like very focused on this. Kaladesh is his favorite plane, but he has also talked about the issues that they had when making this set. Also, there were some insensitive jokes that were made when Kaladesh first came out in the set proper, like intentional
Yeah.
jokes that they thought would be kind of funny that were like very not funny. um,
Yeah.
so, uh, so
That was
anyway,
wild.
that was wild. There's a specific vehicle that has seven toughness and 11, or sorry, seven power and 11 toughness, and is supposed to be a 7-Eleven joke because this is the Indian plane, and it's like,
Right.
are you kidding? Like, really? It's like a whole Apu joke and stuff. Like, it was insensitive even for the time it came out, which was like, I don't know, 2015, something like that.
Yeah, it wasn't
Um,
that long ago.
but anyway, that was a whole thing had happened during that time. And I think through the years, they had kind of realized like originally the name was supposed to be talking about inventing different stuff. And they basically put together Kala and Desh to mean something for themselves, but the translation was just it was kind of like a Western translation where it's like, oh, this word means this and this word means that, so let's put them together and this is going to mean
Right,
this,
right.
right? And
Yeah.
everyone who actually spoke the language was like, that's that's actually not, no, that is not really something we would say or anything. It doesn't mean what you think it means. It actually means something
Right.
much worse.
Yeah.
And so they took the opportunity to change it now that we're in the Foundations era and the Phyrexian War had happened. If you want to read more about this, they have a good outlining of all the stuff in it. But I just want to give a notice. Hey, it's Avishkar is now the new name, and Kaladesh is the past name. Um,
Yeah.
and there is good in story lore versions to explain why this happened and who was responsible in story, the characters who decided to change the name of the plane. all of that has already been fleshed out. So I think they did a pretty good job. So thumbs up with that. Good stuff. Also, something
Yeah,
I
this
I didn't know. Right, I was not super privy to this. So
yeah, I feel like I remember this causing a bit of a stir when it first came out, but that was
mhm.
like 10 years ago, um, being reminded of the 7-Eleven jokes and stuff
Yeah.
like that. Um, so this is good, better late than never. If this
Hmm.
was offending people or had the potential to offend anyone, just change it. Like,
Hmm.
why not? Um, so
Also,
yeah.
I the thing I like about this is that they did a good job of being like in the story, the people that were in power who were in charge of Kaladesh had been taken over through like a revolution, and the new people who were in power changed the name to Avishkar and are now like, this is what we're calling it, and it feels more like they're still honoring that it used to be called Kaladesh, and there were people that wanted to be called Kaladesh, but they also honor that the people that were in charge at that time were like the consulate were not good people in the story, and so that was it was good for them to be able to realize that like, hey, we can do this in a real way, and we can still call the past tense of this plane Kaladesh. So all right,
Yeah.
all of it's kind of in history, and it just feels like they've done a good job with this. I'm very happy with how it all went down. So anyway,
Yeah.
that's enough about that. We were talking more about it than I kind of expected, but
All right, but enough about that. Let's get down to the main business here and talk
mhm.
about the new, well, no new cards, but new to Arena cards with Pioneer Masters.
Yeah, that's right. They're new. They do feel new though, because it feels like I've been playing this like fake format for so long with Explorer, and I've been waiting for some cards. And if you know me and you know my stream, we've been playing them. So we'll get to those, but I wanted to start with some other ones that are like more of a groan. All right, so
Okay, yeah. I'd
more
say
they are.
you're right.
Yeah.
The first two you have here are more of a growth.
All
Yeah.
right, don't be groaning on me before it's time. So the big thing with the separation between Pioneer and Explorer, there was one specific deck that was like, this really feels like it's not part of the meta. And Jeff and I felt it very, very intensely when we went to a like a Pioneer RCQ, and we had not played against this deck because this is like was only a paper deck.
Yeah.
Um,
And just got trashed by it. But
yeah, and we were like, "What the fuck is this deck?" And there were two specific cards that stopped it from being exactly what it is, um, and that is Lotus Field Combo. Ugh. Um,
ugh.
so this is a straight combo deck. Like we have some combo decks in Pioneer, but this one is the comboiest.
And we
Um,
had some Lotus Field decks in Explorer, but
yes.
those are not this. Like those
Hmm.
were like Teferi Untaps, Lotus Field, kind of
Yes.
like you can cancel the trigger with it on the stack, kind of
Stuff like
cheesy
that,
nonsense.
which still exists in Explorer. I did play against some of those decks this week, even though they could have been playing Lotus Field combo. But the main thing with the Lotus Field combo decks is that they are playing a lot of things that untap Lotus Field. And usually they just like eat the trigger. They just like play Lotus Field, eat the whole like you lose your lands, and then Thespian Stage make copies of it, and then they just go off, and then they get to
Yeah.
tap and untap and tap and untap and tap and untap. One of the big cards they really needed was Hidden Strings. So Hidden Strings, if you're not familiar with it, is one in a blue for a sorcery. You may tap or untap target permanent. Then you may tap or untap another target permanent. And then it also has the kind of keyword cipher, which cipher doesn't matter on this card at all.
Yeah.
Which basically cipher just takes this spell, puts it on a creature, and then when you hit your opponent with it, you get to recast the spell. Lotus Field combo doesn't really play creatures that deal damage. And so like you don't care about that. This is just a single spell that costs 2 mana that untaps both Lotus Fields. And most of the combo is having two Lotus Fields on the battlefield and untapping them with the cheapest amount of mana. So you generate Lotus Field is a hexproof in, like land that taps for three of any color, and you tap. You only have to use two to untap them. You get to tap them and untap them and tap them and untap them. You just make a million mana. Play Emergent Ultimatum. Get your combo pieces and force your opponent to just let you keep going, and you just never stop.
Yeah.
So Hidden Strings was a huge piece that was missing previously, and we had speculated it was because the card has Cypher on it, which doesn't matter in the deck, but on Arena it was not
You
programmed
do have
to
to
work.
code it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I have such a I don't like this card.
Hmm.
Not only because, it facilitates this combo deck, but what is the fair use case of this card? What is in their heads when they design this atrocity? What is the like fun or like cool thing that happens? Is it like I attack with two creatures and they both get pseudo vigilance because I have this ciphered onto one of them? Haha, I get to untap them both. Like,
Well, because the first time you play it, you tap their creatures, and then you cipher on
yeah,
your creature, and then you untap your creatures. That's what it is. And then the next time you can't do
in
anything.
blue.
Yeah, in blue.
Like,
Oh,
what is
blue
this?
blue taps and untap stuff. Don't you remember Twiddle?
Yeah, like what is this card? This card is bad design, I think, and
Yeah.
obviously would only ever be used because it can untap two things.
Yes.
Uh, so I don't know what design rabbit hole they went down when they thought this was a really cool card.
I mean, it's the
But
classic like, hey, you like it costs two mana. You could untap two lands. That does nothing, right? But
they had learned their lesson by this point. Like this had been long enough.
immediately after this, they print Nykthos. So it's like they wanted something to happen, right?
Yeah.
They wanted there to be something going on.
But they were like, oh, you can only have one Nykthos, so you can't
Hmm.
untap it twice with this card.
Yeah, except for they also printed Thespian Stage. So like, I guess like yes, because that would be legendary. But still, they had the balance lands. There's a lot of stuff that was happening. I don't know. I agree with you that this is just kind of egregious, but I will say I'm happy it's on Arena because we should have real Pioneer on Arena, no matter how much I hate the deck that is being introduced. While there's another card that adds to that deck as well, which was pretty important. And I wanted it to not be that important, but it is part of one of the combo pieces that you grab with Emergent Ultimatum, which is Dark Petition. So Dark Petition is 3 black for a sorcery. You get to tutor, so you go through your library, pick a card, put it in your hand. And then if you have Spell Mastery, because this was printed in Magic Origins, which means you have 2 or more instants or sorcery cards in your graveyard. This deck only has those cards, so like of
Yeah,
course
it
they do.
always has that.
You get to Dark Ritual. You just get 3 black mana.
Yeah.
So this essentially only costs 2 mana. So this is just like Demonic Tutor. Okay, great.
Yeah.
And you just it's the reason that it sucks and I hate it is because it's not normally part of just like, oh, I cast Dark Petition, go get my thing. It's like, no, I Emergent Ultimatum. Dark Petition is one of the cards that I get to cast for free if you let me.
Right.
And if you get rid of one of the cards that I have chosen, I just use Dark Petition to go get it. And one of them is usually Omniscience. It's just like
Yeah, it just facilitates the like
consistency.
one card wins the game
Yeah.
thing. And if you haven't played against this deck, if you are ready to get blindsided by it like Zach and I did,
Hmm.
um, I would say uninterrupted, you're likely to lose on turn three.
You definitely can. It's
Yeah.
possible.
Like likely turn four,
Mhm.
reasonable chance turn three, and
Like,
for sure dead by turn five unless they have like the weirdest worst draw ever.
yeah. or like this didn't mulligan when they should have. But
Yeah.
like, if they ever have two Lotus Fields in play, you're dead. Like that's just how the deck works. I don't like it.
Yeah.
I don't like it. And with something else though, I I don't like it. Like this is
Well, to play devil's advocate a little bit,
mhm.
I don't like it.
Yeah. Like it's this is one of those decks like I think a lot of people when Pioneer Masters came to Arena, they're like, "Oh my God, I get to play all these cards." And they're like, "Oh fuck, I have to play
Oh, but I
against
have to play.
Lotus Field."
Actually, like one of the things I liked about Explorer was I don't have to worry about this deck. Yeah, and it's not a power level thing, okay? Like, and I
No.
generally am loaded with Thoughtseizes, at least in my sideboard.
Hmm.
It's just not fun for me to play against this deck because this deck is just very fast and consistent at doing its thing. Your job is to try to kill them and disrupt them enough to stall them and kill them before it happens. Their job is to just do the one thing they do. And if
Hmm.
they do it, you lose. It's just, I don't know. I don't find that super fun. It's not particularly interactive. Like the interaction is me thought seizing them and trying to figure out what the best card to
Yeah.
take is.
And the way that they win through the deck is that they play Fae of Wishes. They use the adventure side of it to go get Approach of the Second Sun from their sideboard. They play Approach of the Second Sun, then they play Dark Petition to go get Approach of the Second Sun, and then recast it. That's how they win.
Yeah.
Um, it's very annoying, and everything is free basically because they have omniscience, and it's just like it just feels
Yeah.
dumb to me.
Yeah.
But
I mean, the
I
actual win con of these combo decks never matters, right? Like,
no,
remember when there was that modern deck where the win con was Pyrite Spellbomb? Like,
yes,
it
that
just
was
doesn't matter.
it doesn't matter. It's just like something dumb. This one particularly is annoying because it's in their sideboard, and so like you
It's
have to
very
like
safe. Yeah.
it's very safe to be like extruded or anything like that.
Well protected, I guess.
Yes.
That's
What
why
I
they do it this way.
what I will say is that this deck tends to games 2 and 3 morph into like a ramp deck basically, and so they'll side in Atraxa and Zakama and stuff like that, and then their main game plan is just ramp and slam big shit. And so if
Yeah.
you're trying to play against the combo deck, you'll lose because they're like on a different plan, which is
Yeah.
exactly what combo decks are supposed to do. And it's good and it's smart that they're doing this. I just hate it. I hate it
Yeah.
so
Same.
much.
Yeah. I
Like,
can respect the drip here on like this is
mhm,
a very well built and well designed combo deck.
mhm.
I don't want a well built and well designed combo deck in my
No,
metagame. That sounds crappy
yeah, it's really annoying.
because
So
that dunks on the decks I like to play. So
exactly. Though the one silver lining to this whole thing is that never, ever in my wildest dreams would dreams, not even dreams, I'm never going to put together in paper this deck and try to play it at a tournament, right?
valid.
I'm never going to get reps with this. I'm never going to
Yeah.
know how to play this deck. However, on Arena, I do have the opportunity to copy a list, put it in, and play it and see the points where it is weak and the problems it may have so I can hate it a little bit less. And
I
so
like your attitude. Although it
that
feels like a lot of wild cards because I definitely don't have a lot of the stuff. But
that's true. Besides that, right? Besides, it's very expensive. If you're at the point where you have a bunch of wild cards and all you feel towards this game is you hate this deck, you can craft it and you can play it and you can realize. Now, I'm not there yet. I'm still on the I want to beat this deck and I hate it.
yeah,
But
yeah.
when I get to the point where I'm so angry that I cannot play this format while this deck is around, I will craft this deck. I will play it. I will see the holes and try to exploit them.
And this is something we've talked about on the show before. If you're sitting there and a deck on the other side of the table seems unbeatable,
Hmm.
like it has happened. There are decks like the Hogaaks and the Omnaths of the world where it's like, well, that deck's just perfect. You should probably play
Yeah.
that. But in those very rare situations, action tends to be taken pretty quickly in terms of banning it, and uh, generally you're just not in the situation where the deck across from you is pretty much perfect. And so if you're not seeing the weaknesses, you're not seeing the entry points of how you can like put pressure on them and make them feel uncomfortable, really a great way to find those is to play the deck yourself. Because then you'll be on the other side of the table going like, "Oh, I hope they don't have this right now." Or I
Hmm.
hope they don't like I hope I draw this. I need this to go a certain way in order for my game plan to work out.
Exactly.
And once you start seeing it from that perspective, it becomes easier to go on the other side of the table and be like, okay, I shouldn't duress them right now on turn one, even though that's more mana efficient for me, because I know the turn that they're really gonna sweat it is turn three. And so, I'll save that Thoughtseize. I'll do it even if it's slightly inefficient. I don't want to give them two extra draw steps
Hmm.
or some planning room to maneuver around it. So I'm going to hit them right before um, the card they need. And I think that's a huge common misplay with Thoughtseize, by the way, is people play it on turn one too often just because like it's the
Absolutely.
quote unquote obvious play. And
Hmm.
like you need sometimes you don't know what your opponent's on yet, right? It's game
Yeah.
one,
Might as
you're
well.
on arena,
Yeah.
you're on the play. Sure, then you're gaining information by Thoughtseizing. But a lot of the time you want to think about like when should I cast this Thoughtseize? Because like what's the important card? And I want
Hmm.
to give myself as much time and increase my opportunity to actually nail that card.
Hmm.
I find that to be more effective than thought seizing them and then they draw that card and then complaining. I mean, that's a
Well,
pretty effective strategy as well, but
yeah, it is. I mean, like to be fair, there is a Thoughtseize bug on Arena and MTGO, both of them, where
yeah, yeah,
you Thoughtseize a card that seems really important, and then your opponent immediately draws it.
yeah,
But you want to make sure that your opponent has less draw steps to draw that card, right?
yeah.
And
You
so,
increase your like complaining factor. Like
yes,
if you gave them three chances at drawing it, people are gonna be way less sympathetic than
You
if you
can't
just gave them
complain
one.
about
Yeah,
that. No, no, no.
yeah,
You if you wait till turn three, Thoughtseize them, and they still get the important card for their four drop or whatever, then you get to complain. That is a real salt mine right there. So,
exactly.
um,
Yeah.
try to maximize how much salt you can tell your friends about
Yeah,
it,
yeah.
right? Like
Yeah, we're trying to optimize for post-game sympathy here.
exactly.
Post-ass whooping sympathy.
If you tell me that, if you're like, I had Thoughtseize on turn one, I waited till turn three, and they still had the card again, then I will be like, all right, I'm sorry, that sucks. That
You're
really
like,
sucks.
I had two thought seizes on turn one. I
Hmm.
waited for both of them on turn
Right.
three. I
Yeah.
thought seized two collected companies out of their hands, and they
And they
drew it. And
drew another one. Oh God. Oh man. Anyway, I am happy that we're closer to Pioneer, but that is the one deck that I'm not happy to see. Um,
yeah,
but also
there's a
happy
lot
to
of
see.
positive.
But
That's
yeah,
the thing, right? Like if there are other people who weren't playing Explorer because this deck was not a part of the format and this is what they want, then great. And as far as combo decks go, like I don't hate this deck enough that this is a Pioneer Masters is a net bad thing because this is one of the
no.
decks that
Oh
like
no, it's definitely not bad.
no, there's another deck that's also being added that I hate as well. So no, it's just like there have been some really obnoxious combo decks in the past. I think this one is just good. It's just a good combo deck, and I'm never gonna love that. But
Hmm.
it's not like at least when they kill you, they kill you, you know? They don't take every turn for the rest of the game and never actually accomplish like or they
It's
to
true.
ferry you out. Like you're dead that turn. It takes a lot of actions,
Hmm.
but they do
But
kill
you they
you.
do kill you. You're right. You're right. It is a combo deck, and like I will say, yes, to their credit, I kind of enjoy combo decks a little bit more than control decks because control decks just like squeeze you to feel like maybe if I draw the right thing, I still could do something. It's like, no, you can't. You can never do any. If I sandbank enough spells, they can't
Yeah.
counter them all. Like, it doesn't matter. They're going to wipe the board. Like,
Yeah.
but at
You
least
think you're at like a 5%er and you're just at a 0%er.
the whole time. As soon as Teferi drops, you're at a 0%er. If you play decks that I play. So like, so yeah, I
Yeah,
am
I know.
happy
That's why
that
I
at least,
sandbag all my thought ceases for right
Mhm.
before their turn 5
Yeah, yeah.
and then still get to ferried.
Yeah, you get both Teferis and they get the other one, you know.
I will
Uh,
accept my sympathy now.
yes, please shower me with praise. But anyway, another deck that's coming to Arena that I haven't played a bunch against, but have heard about a lot is Niv to Light.
Yeah.
So we got a new card called Bring to Light, which Jeff, would you like to read that card? Is it in front of you
Of
right
course.
now?
So yeah, this is one I'm pretty excited about. So this
Mhm.
is 3 green blue. Not a great start, I know, but hear me out. Sorcery, it has Converge. So Converge is like how many different type colors of mana were spent to cast it.
Mhm.
Search your library for a creature, instant, or sorcery card with mana value less than or equal to the number of colors of mana spent to cast the spell. Exile that card, then shuffle. You may cast that without paying its mana cost. So, um, this is kind of like a tutor that plays it right away, which is a
Mhm.
very strong card, but it has that hoop to jump through that you need to um, spend like a sufficient number of different colors because you don't want to play a 2-drop with this usually. So this goes into your 4 or 5 color decks. Niv Mizzet is a similar thing, rewards multicolor spells, and so
Mhm.
these Niv Mizzet and Bring to Light work so well together because Bring to Light goes to get Niv Mizzet, which is the best card in your deck, and often the reason you lose in these decks because you don't find Niv Mizzet,
Mhm.
and then Niv Mizzet picks up Bring to Light on the other way around because it's technically a
Yeah.
Simic card.
And Jeff's calling it Niv Mizzet Reborn is specifically the version of the card that he's talking about.
Yeah, and I played Niv Mizzet decks years ago.
Yeah.
Was it years ago? I
Yeah.
think years ago in
It was years
Explorer,
ago, yeah.
and loved it even without Bring to Light. And I remember being like, man, if we had Bring to Light, that would be awesome. Um, and so this is such a cool deck, I think, to have be a part of the metagame. And now that Bring to Light is here, like it actually can be a part of the metagame, because it's basically like 2-color gold card tribal.
Yes.
Two
It's
color gold card like mid-range tribal. Like
mhm.
what a weird archetype to be strong.
And yeah, and not just that. It's like because Niv Mizzet Reborn likes all the different guild cards in your deck. So like
Right,
you draw
yeah.
cards depending on the different colored pairs you have.
Yeah, so it's not even like load up on Simic
Or Golgari or
gold.
whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to have one of each of them to draw the best amount of cards off of your Visit Reborn. Um,
And building that deck was so fun because you'd go through all the guilds, be like, what do
mhm.
I want my card to be from this
Yeah,
guild that fit
and
my
this is like one of the best Simic ones you could get because the Simic
for
was
sure.
also kind of hard,
Simic was
to
always like, what do I want from
Growth
Simic?
Spiral. Okay,
Yeah.
like that's
Yeah,
fine,
Gross Pile is pretty good, yeah.
but like this is way better, right?
Yeah.
Um, Another card that got added to this deck that we haven't been able to see before was Niv Mizzet Supreme.
Yeah.
So this is the Niv Mizzet from Aftermath. And so it's Wooburg, it's all 5 colors. It's a 5/5 flying hexproof from monocolored, which is pretty annoying.
Yeah.
As like most removal spells are just monocolored if you're just a regular person.
Yeah.
And it also says each instant and sorcery card in your graveyard that is exactly 2 colors has Jumpstart, which means you can play it again from your graveyard as long as you discard a card from your hand. Which means that all of the cards you draw from Niv Mizzet Reborn, you get to just play again, which is really annoying. So that means all your Dreadbores and all like your Lightning Helixes or whatever, you just get to cast again. Your Bring to Light, you get to cast again. Like,
Yeah.
I played against this deck and it was like going off, and I was like, what is happening? Like out of nowhere, they had a million dragons, all Niv Mizzets, and they had a million cards in their hand
Yeah.
and in their graveyard. I was like, what am I supposed to do? I can't target this. Like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah, I had a bit of an eyebrow raise at Niv Mizzet Supreme's addition to the deck, and then I
Hmm.
played against it, and I was like, holy shit, this card is
It's
unbelievably good in this deck. Like,
especially because like Bring to Light specifically gets to decide, do I need to draw cards into my hand or just draw cards into my graveyard? Like
yeah,
which one do I want to go get with Bring to Light? The other thing with this deck is that you don't even need, like, if you're in the situation where you're like, wow, if I get Niv Mizzet Reborn, I still die because my opponent's too aggressive. If I get Niv Mizzet Supreme, all the cards I played before, I still can't cast.
yeah,
Maybe I'll just go get Sunfall. I'll just get
yeah,
Sunfall, wipe the board. That'll be fine.
right.
Bring to Light does that too. It's like, it is,
Kudos to Sunfall for being strong enough to be played in the two
yeah,
color
the two
tribal deck.
color. It's just like, oh, just a white spell is totally fine.
Yeah,
Like Supreme Verdict, don't need it. Like this
yeah.
is better.
Nah, I
Ugh.
want to exile.
So, um, anyway, these decks run Sunfall. Don't be shocked by it because I definitely was. And
I mean, it becomes a whole. I think like when
it's a
when
toolbox
you
for sure.
when you don't have Bring to Light, Sunfall is okay. Am I going to play Sunfall or I'm going to play something that I can get with Niv Mizzet, and so it
Hmm.
ups my chances of finding it. When you have Bring to Light that can probably just go get your Sunfall, it makes it a lot more appealing, right?
Yeah, you can also just play one. Like
Yeah, yeah,
because your deck just
exactly.
goes
You
and
need one
finds
or
it.
two in there. Yeah.
You have Niv Mizzet board to find Bring to Light, and then you have Bring to Light to find any of your Niv Mizzets or this card. But
Because I
like,
used to play the like Boros 3 mana kind of like lifelink and
yeah,
pseudo mini
Deafening
four way.
Clarion. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm just like, that was always pretty weak.
Hmm. This is quite a bit better. Um, anyway, this deck is strong and it's good. Like standard players already know that like five color decks are really strong in these formats.
Yeah, I guess
Um,
it's not surprising if you're sort of a
it's
newer player because you've just seen that domain dominance. But
mhm. Which like in standard we have not full domain. I feel they're kind of cheating because of
we have like,
Overlord.
yes, we used to have like legit
Full domain,
domain,
yeah.
but now it's
Now we have like Overlord of the Hauntwoods, which cheats domain,
yeah,
so it's not
yeah.
really fair. This is like no cheating, full domain, and it
I mean, it
is
depends if you consider triomes to be cheating, but
not really. As soon as they make like just five color lands that don't untap for the first two turns or whatever, like or that kind of thing where it's like, hey, this land enters, like put two stun counters on it or something, like,
yeah.
but it taps for five, whatever. Or not five, sorry. It taps for any color is what I meant to say. Um, but yeah, I just this
Taps for 5. We were upset about Lotus Field. Just
I
wait till
know. Just wait till this lane drops.
give that
Um,
thing hexproof. And,
yeah, yeah. Then we're off to the races. Um, but anyway, Bring to Light, definitely important card. All
I think
right,
it's one of I think it's my favorite
your
edition
favorite card.
from Pioneer Masters.
All right,
I
okay.
think like there's some others that I are cards that I just really like,
Hmm.
but this one is the deck that is now being introduced to the format that I'm most likely to want to go play.
Totally, absolutely agree. Uh,
Now, given that, let's talk about the deck that has been added to the format that you are most likely to want to go play.
Oh yeah, that's for sure. I mean, like I've already played it a ton, and it's awesome. Slash, is it awesome? I don't know, but I like it.
Oh, is it?
Um, no, 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 no. Much better color combination than is it?
Ugh.
Get out of here. It's Celestia. Yeah, baby. It's time to party. Get all our little tokens. Just kidding. No tokens involved. One creature. One massive,
Exact
giant
opposite
monster
of
creature.
Celestia's mantra.
Ammo, yeah.
Yeah.
We have the addition of Glade Cover Scout, our very own Slippery Boggle. The best
Harder
card.
to cast though.
Yes, a little bit harder to cast. Glade Cover Scout is a single green mana for a 1/1 elf scout. It has hexproof. And that's all. This is like my favorite card in Magic, maybe. Like I love this card. So much so. Like
Do you love it more than
just
Slippery Bogle?
no, because I like Slippery Boggle is the
He's the
first
OG,
one. It's the
right? Yeah.
OG. And Jeff is obviously talking about Slippery Boggle was from like Lorwyn block,
Yeah,
but
one of
it
those. Yeah,
it has a hybrid Simic, which is awkward because Simic. Ugh.
yeah.
But
So
like,
I was joking that this is harder to cast, but like the deck doesn't play blue mana anyways. That's
yeah,
exactly the same.
it's exactly the same. But I do love the Jesper icing. Icing? Wait, what? Um, Jesper, yeah. Is that his last name?
Icing? Yeah.
Icing, yeah. Why did I think it just sounded so wrong when I said it? I was like, am I talking about a cake? Sorry.
Yeah.
I had drinks before we started the show, so like I'm like on it. But Jesper Icing is an artist, and his version of Slippery Boggle, which was from Ultimate Masters, is
Yeah,
beautiful.
it is a nice piece of art. Even I had to admit that.
Yeah, I will have to say they did change the art to Gladecover Scout from the art that was from what the one that we're used to from like Magic.
Ravnica? Or-
It was like Magic. It was a core set card actually, from Magic 20. Sorry, Magic 12 and Magic 14. Which might be a little too risque, I guess, is what they're. Alan Williams might have been. There's a little too much leg, I guess. I don't know.
oh yeah.
Yeah, and they changed it to a fully armored elf.
Right.
Which
I
whatever.
I'm on board with that. Like I in general, I'm a fan of like, okay, let's have art depict, people who are actually in battle and not,
Hmm.
randomly naked for no reason. In this card, it's kind of like I think they're supposed to be pretty stealthy, so I don't know if they should be wearing as much armor as
Yeah, the
they actually
clinkety
are.
clankety.
Like maybe some leather would have been
Fine.
make
Yeah.
more sense, leather armor.
I guess they
But
look a little. They'd look greener in this art. Whatever. This doesn't really matter. What really matters
yeah.
is that this puppy loves auras. That's what we're talking about. Glade Cover Scout loves some auras. We love some audacity. We love our all that glitters. We love ethereal armor. We love all of them. Anything which is like, hey, you got auras. I want more auras. I want to make this thing big. I want to make this thing fly. It's got a trample. It has
Armadillo
hexproof.
cloak.
Oh yeah, if we had Armadillo Cloak, that would be really nice. That's not in the format, but we do have Sheltered by Ghost, which is almost like way better.
Oh,
Um,
Sheltered by Ghost. I forgot about that card in the context of Pioneer because I've been playing against that card a lot in Standard.
Yeah, that is good. It also only costs 2 mana, so when you play Light Paws in this deck, you just get to put like all the glitters on anything. Light Paws, you get a the Shelter by Ghost, slap that on there, boom, take away your blocker, smash for 1,000,000.
I hate that.
Love it. I love it. All I've been playing is Boggles, and no, I will not stop calling it Boggles because that's what it is, and that's Magic history right there. You can't erase
Sweet.
that shit.
Should we call it Scouts?
Yuck! Don't do that. That sounds horrible. What is this? To Kill a Mockingbird? Get out of here! I'm not doing that.
Glade
Boggles.
Peppers?
No, stop it. We also got another Boggles creature, Basara Tower Archer, which is a 2 mana version. That's a 2/1 that has hexproof and reach, but the big downside is it costs 2 green. Two
Yeah.
green to play. To the point that this card's not even in the deck. It was just added
Yeah.
just as a niceness to, hey, it's kind of a trap. Hey, do you want to play this really hard to cast Glade Cover Scout? It's not going to be nearly as good, and you're going to be tricked into playing it, but you
But
shouldn't.
it has one more power.
Yeah, and reach.
And reach, because that's what you care about.
Because you want to be blocking. Yeah. The other problem with Basara Tower Archer, not only is it like double green, which like sure maybe you could make your mana base good enough to play this card or whatever, but it also means that you can't play Jagantha in your companion zone,
Oh,
which like
yeah.
just is,
No, I mean,
yeah. You
one
just
thing
play
I've learned about
companions.
Giganta is it's almost always right to cut the card that is blocking
Hmm.
you from playing Giganta.
Just like
Um,
having a free 5/5. Now, is that, you get to draw it for free, but like it's expensive to play, but like it's at least something in the games where you don't have nothing, right?
yeah.
So it,
Yeah, it's
it
almost always
it's
right. The card that is double pipped has to be
mhm,
really good or central to your game plan.
mhm. It has to be like
Otherwise,
the namesake card.
yeah.
So
Um, yeah, so Basara Tower Archer, got it. It's Glade Cover Scout at home.
exactly.
Um,
Yeah, if you can't afford that one rare wild card for your Gigantha, guess you're
yeah.
gonna be playing these Tower Archers.
So
Um,
the deck surely does not play it, Glade Cover Scout is the only hexproof creature.
yes.
So you play Scout and Light Paws. Did you play any other creatures?
Yeah, so the version I have right now, which I don't know is correct, but we're playing Glade Cover Scout,
Yeah.
four of Light Paws. I think I'm playing like two or three SRAM,
Okay.
which draw stuff. We're playing the 1/1 the dog that sacrifices itself,
Oh
Selfless
yeah.
Savior,
Okay.
and then all right, don't yell at me, okay?
Okay. I'm
Nobody
feeling vindictive.
scream. But I am playing like a couple Toadstool admirers. That's all. Just a 1 mana 1/1 ward 2. But every once in a while you need 5 and 6 of your Glade Cover Scouts.
That's a far cry. Okay. That's not even Glade Cover Scout at home. That's like
I know, but it's easier to cast, and to
Board 2?
to be fair, to be fair, most of the time it gets you through enough damage that it will die to the normal stuff that kills Glade Cover Scout. Temporary lockdowns, sacrifice things, stuff like that.
Maybe it is just the same. Maybe it is the
That
same
like
card.
if you can have Glade Cover Scout and Toadstool Admirer in your hand, this is a deck where they have to thought seize you on turn one, because if they don't, it's already on the battlefield and
Oh
they're
yeah,
screwed.
yeah, everything in your deck like
Yeah,
costs
so
two or less.
so they have to do that. Um, you can survive long enough through like it's not amazing, and I want to actually have a real slippery boggle. Like that would be more important. But because this deck is light paws and you're playing a different version, um, Toadstool Admirer is something that most of the time you can do enough damage. You just need to know that like I can't load this up. Like you just
Yeah,
don't load it up as much
but
as
that's the whole
Blade
deck.
Cover. I know, but the way that like this deck works with light paws and all that stuff is that like turn one you want to play Glade Cover Scout. If you have a turn two like enchantment or something, you can put it on. But I do think that it's fairly important to make sure that like when you're casting your auras, you have light paws or SRAM or something that gives you card advantage. Because you could,
Yeah,
if
yeah.
you don't have the cards in your hand immediately, you can easily like just flame out. Like playing all of your auras and you have two light paws in hand, like you're just not going to do the deck. And so you have to make sure you can turn three light paws, play something else, or
Right.
turn four light paws, cast all the glitters, and then go get like Alpha Authority, which is another card we were just going to talk about, which is a 2 mana aura that gives light paws hexproof, and so then you can go off after that. So
Yeah.
um, this is the type of deck where it is very aggressive. It can kill you out of nowhere, but it does need a lot of setup. And you have to kind of think of it as a creature combo deck where you're like, I I know I can kill them in one turn, but I have to figure out which turn that's going to be because I have to spend all my other turns getting ready for that turn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The the way they've designed the Pioneer version of this deck by restricting like I don't think you're ever getting eight. Glade Cover Scouts. I think
Hmm.
you just get your four, and
Hmm.
everything else is Glade Cover Scout at home, and you have to
Hmm.
reach
Figure.
for it,
Hmm.
which I think is the right move. Like you don't want the eight like the modern deck had, I don't
I
think.
agree. I
Um,
disagree completely.
from a format standpoint, not from a
Oh, sorry.
I play
Oh,
Bogos
I'm sorry. I'm
standpoint.
sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Right, right, right. Of course.
Um, this deck feels more similar to modern Infect to me than
Hmm.
modern Boggles, where it's like Boggles in modern is like I always have one on turn one. If I don't, I mulligan, and then I just slam pants on it until
Hmm.
you're dead, and I hope you don't have an answer to that. Infect is a lot more like we both know that I can kill you. Like I have the cards in my hand to deal enough damage to kill you, but like it's all about the timing of when to go for it.
Hmm.
And like it's
Which,
not quite the same because it doesn't have the same like it's all about the combat step and who blinks
hmm.
first, but it's still very much more like you mentioned a creature combo deck. It's more like the yeah, I could jam all of this and try to kill you, but like it's not a sure thing.
Yeah.
And then
This is,
you can't really tap out because I could just jam all this stuff and kill you.
and
And
then
like
kill you. That's
the that's where
the
we're
flip.
at.
It has a similar vibe of like rule prowess where it's like I could play, if I have slick shot plotted, I could play it at any time and maybe kill you, but you don't know.
Yeah.
My hand could be full of lands, but it could be full of everything that kills you, so you don't know.
Yeah. Gruul Prowess, exactly. So
Hmm.
it's a better like
It,
Infect was just a combo deck where all of your pump spells were basically twice as powerful. So
exactly. Yeah.
that's all Infect
It's
was.
well, what I mean. We're literally talking about the same deck. Gruul
Yeah.
Prowess is Infect in Modern. It's
Yeah,
the
exactly.
same
Yeah.
style of deck. Um, the other thing with this is that it kind of reminds me of like you were saying, but Boggles in Pauper actually, because in Pauper there's a huge Chainer's Edict is a huge format staple, which is a sacrifice. Each you force your opponent to sacrifice a creature because of Boggles is a thing, and so making sure you have enough creatures to be able to sacrifice is important. And
Right. Because Shieldred's Edict is
Shield is
quite a good
around.
card.
You do see Liliana's every once in a while in like sideboards of Rakdos decks,
Yeah,
stuff like
they
that. So you can't just live off of one
it was always
creature.
my answer to Boggles is I have Thoughtseize and Liliana's. Let's see if
Mm,
that is enough. And
yeah,
usually no.
yeah. Well, in
Because those
my
auras make stupid fucking one ones.
yes, you need to play Cartouche Solidarity and things like that to make sure you have 1/1s to sacrifice. But this deck is quite strong, and you need to know how to play like around it. But you also, as the Auras player, need to know if you have a starting hand of 7 and it looks really, really strong, unless your opponent Thoughtseize and you know
Yeah.
you're on game 2 and they have black mana, mulligan until you have a better hand. Like, don't keep one creature and a bunch of auras. You're gonna die.
Yeah.
Do you want to lose on turn one, or do you want to mulligan to like 4 cards and then maybe win? Like, there is a possibility you could win, even though you. Benton Madsen taught me this.
Yeah.
Mulligan till you have the cards you need. Like, your deck is strong enough to survive on just a boggle on turn one. Like, that is what the deck is built to do.
Yeah.
So don't just be like, oh, I have a couple light paws and a SRAM and an aura. I'll be fine. And like, you're just not going to be. You
You're
just.
way more likely to draw auras to put on your
Mhm.
Glade Cover Scout than you are to draw another Glade
Glade
Cover
cover
Scout.
scout. Yeah.
Yeah. So two Glade Cover Scouts, you're probably just like, whatever. Like,
Yeah.
let's do that. And I will
If
draw auras for
if you
them.
have
Like,
two, if you have two in your 7, the angels have blessed you.
yeah.
Benton Madsen has kissed you on your ass. Like, that is exactly what you want. Like, please,
Is that
please,
exactly
God.
what you want? For
It
Benton
is what I
Madsen
want.
to kiss you on your ass.
Kiss me on my ass, Benton Madsen, please. That's what I want.
All
Like,
right, you heard it here first, folks.
every time I play that deck, that's what I hope for. Um,
Uh,
but
yeah, I
anyway,
actually don't hate this deck. I like to hate on it. That's all. Like,
everybody likes to hate on this deck.
yeah.
I literally posted when I was playing this on stream, and the manager at the restaurant I work at came in and be like, "Boggles, really, really, you play Boggles?" And I was like, "Yeah, baby, come
Of
on,
course.
let's go." I need to go in and just like keep like a ethereal armor in my pocket, and I just pull it out every time I see him and slip it back
Yeah.
in. Um,
So, uh,
yes, always with me. Got to keep my armor on me all the time, you know.
yeah.
But anyway, I love that deck. I've been playing it a lot with very middling success. There have been some gross decks beating us down, but
Boggles
disgusting.
is usually it's usually not tier one. It's like
Mm-mm.
if the format has forgotten about me, then I can take them by surprise.
That's my favorite.
Um,
Spike the tournament.
yeah. And I think Benton was a good example of that, where I mean he also played extremely
Extremely
well.
well.
Uh,
He also had all
but
those
I
cliff
think that was on
bars.
it was on like nobody's radar, and he just kind of went on his own and decided I'm going to bring this Aura's deck. And
Yeah, it's true. Well, this is a really good time to talk about Benton Madsen because the next card we have on the list is actually from that
yeah,
pro
the
tour he
card
was
that beat
in.
him.
The card that beat him. So if you
Yeah.
don't know, Benton Madsen was the Boggles player that played in Phyrexia All Will Be One Pro Tour, who lost to Reed Duke, who was playing what do they call it? Like what do they even call that
Uh,
deck?
I don't know,
30U.
some sort of creativity.
Yeah, it was like teamer creativity kind of, but
Yeah.
anyway. But the card that we're talking about is Xenagos, God of Revels. Jeff, would you do us the honors of giving us this card?
Yeah. So Xenagos, God of Revels, 3 red green for a 6/5 legendary enchantment creature god. It's indestructible. As long as your devotion to red and green is less than 7, it's not a creature. At the beginning of combat on your turn, another target creature you control gains haste and plus X until end of turn, where X is that creature's power.
Hmm.
So basically, what you do is you cheat this out along with another creature that has at least 10 power.
Hmm.
And then this will double its power and give it haste for the GG. Uh,
GG.
Typically, you're going to want that thing to have trample
Hmm.
so that it can trample over any potential blockers. And probably you want more than 10 power just to really guarantee that
They're dead.
they can't chump block their way out of this one. So
Hmm.
we need something with more
Hmm.
than 10 power
What could it
and
be?
has trample.
Hmm. Maybe World Spine Worm? Maybe that.
There we go. 15/15 trample.
Boom.
Some extra text that sometimes matters, but
It does matter because it can't go in your graveyard because it can't be reanimated, so it can just get shuffled back in your library.
yeah, it does
Um,
matter. So you can put it back in your deck.
when you
Um,
use things like Fable of the Mirror Breaker or anything else that discards cards, you just put it back in your deck.
yeah, I was thinking the like dies into 3/5/5s doesn't really tend to matter in this deck,
Oh,
but
sure, 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 sure,
you're
sure.
right. You're right. The
Sorry,
can't the must
I,
shuffle back in does matter.
I'm sorry. I forgot about the 5/5s part. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Um, because it doesn't matter. You're right. But
It
yes.
like can matter, and I think
Hmm.
did in one of Reed's games where it's like, oh, I have a bunch of 5/5s still. It's like,
Right.
ah, shit. Well, I guess I
Hmm.
lose. Um, but generally, they're dead when the 30/30 haste trampler
Yeah,
comes down.
it does. But this was the missing piece of that deck. We
Yeah.
had every other piece that we needed, World Spine Worm included, and just Xenagos was the last one. I actually haven't seen this deck yet in Pioneer. I hope other people have. This deck is super interesting and cool. It's another combo deck, but this is the kind of combo deck I'm talking about where it's like this deck actually can beat you without the combo, and it is the type of deck where it's like its main cards are all fairly cheap and actually do stuff like remove creatures or draw them cards or sift through their deck or keep
Yeah.
them alive so that they can combo off. And then you can take the combo out during sideboard, and your deck feels like a pretty good mid-range deck. Like you're playing Fable of the Mirror Breaker, you have like a Braids, you're playing like
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff that
This
like
deck's very interactive.
yeah.
Even game one, when their
Hmm.
main game plan is to combo, because their combo is pretty fragile. Like Um, it's very easy to play around uh,
Was
with
it?
indomitable creativity. Like
Yeah.
you just have to hold something up to get rid of whatever they're targeting
Or
to kill
counter
it,
it or
or
whatever.
counter it, or it's expensive and sorcerer
Hmm.
speed. Like it's not quite like the first combo deck we talked about, where they're just going to do their thing and they're going to do it as quickly as possible, try to beat you. This deck tries to interact a little more
Hmm.
and plays the game and then gets the oops, I win,
Yeah.
like gotcha kind of side of it. I like these combo decks a lot more
Hmm.
because it feels like a game of Magic and not just like we sat there and flipped a coin and yep, it was heads. You had the hand, I didn't have the hand. Like this one feels a lot more back and forth to me. So I've always been fine with creativity decks. I will say I thought it was more, I think it's cooler when creativity decks don't just win the game as soon as the creativity resolves.
Yeah.
Like they get a big thing and it's like an Atraxa and you're way behind and usually you lose, but not
Hmm.
necessarily. So the Xenagos thing is like, okay, like creativity decks now just literally have they kill you when it
Hmm.
works. Um,
I think I
but
disagree. I like this version better. There's another one where it's like they play like Locust God and that like Sage of the something something, and whenever a non-human creature enters, you draw a card, discard a card, and then you make a
yeah,
Locust and you draw a discard and do that whole thing, and they all have haste and they attack. That one I hate more.
for sure.
In
I,
like
I was
a
talking more
it
about the
takes a long
decks.
time,
I'm talking more
but
about the decks that just go to get like Atraxa or a big creature. Like
for sure.
it's not like for sure the faster like I win this turn, the faster
Hmm.
one is what I want. But
Sorry. What I meant was like I like the World Spine Worm Xenagos thing better because I guess I'm usually playing also big creatures that I can at least block and maybe gain some life because I have lifelink or something and figure it out on my next turn.
yeah,
Even
you're
though
sitting there like a 30-30 block with my
block
35
first,
35 flying first strike vigilance trample lifelink.
it's like block, as opposed to a bunch of little things that have haste or something like that, or like an Atraxa is like yeah you fill your hand and then like maybe you can find something that whatever. But I do like it when they just like we were saying kind of before, killed me right away. I
Yeah.
understand the decks where it's like, yeah, I do my combo and then I get a bunch of value. But there is something to be said about like combo me and kill me. Just kill me, Just do it.
Sure, I think it's more interesting from like a deck building perspective though when there isn't just a best option for something. It's
Sure.
like
And
why I'm sort of anti Gristlebrand because it was always just like whenever you're reanimating or cheating
mhm,
something, it's always Gristlebrand. Don't think about the other big creatures that
mhm,
you could
access
choose. You
to,
always
yeah.
just choose this one. And it's like Emrakul. Like you always just pick Emrakul. Like
Well, it's so interesting because
that's the biggest one.
yeah, but Atraxa is almost like our Grizzlebrand in like our in arena worlds. It's like
Yeah, but all of those decks will also like they would play Titan of Industry because sometimes Titan of Industry is actually the one you want and
that's
not the
true.
threat,
That's
right?
true.
And
That's
so it's
true.
like sometimes you would side that in or you would choose that one on purpose. And like you're always going to have the one that's strongest sort of overall.
Hmm.
But I didn't like it when there was always one that's just like I'm just always the right choice, no matter what
Hmm.
you're playing against, no matter what's happening in the game. You
This one,
always pick Emrakul. Like
yeah.
Emrakul is the right choice always. Um, it's more fun when it's like usually you're just gonna go Atraxa and refill your
Like,
hand to
yeah,
do it.
yeah. Any given weekend, you know what I mean? It's like pick this.
Yeah,
Like this is the best reanimation target against these decks, and this is the best
and
reanimation
like
target
if you're
against
not
these.
sure, go with Atraxa.
Yeah.
But like there are reasons to choose other things.
Okay, I see what you mean. Because Titan of Industry fucks me up real bad. I really
Yeah,
don't like that one.
that one came to mind because it was a card that I laughed at when it got printed,
Hmm.
and then I'm like, I hate this card because it is explicitly really good against everything I play.
Yeah. It's like, oh, destroy target artifact or enchantment. Okay. All right.
And then what
Fuck
does it have? Some
you.
sort of stupid fucking shield token, and oh, it has reach. Great.
Yeah. Every fucking deck. That was the thing that I was pissed off about when I was playing against Bring to Light or Niv to Light.
Yeah.
They had a million cards that have the text like, of all their options, destroy target artifact or enchantment.
Yeah,
And it's like,
yeah.
oh, Knights of Autumn,
Yeah.
destroy your ethereal armor. Abrupt decay or whatever, destroy your sheltered by ghosts. It's just like, fuck you. Like, my creature has hexproof. Why are you targeting all the stuff on it? That's not fair. That's not part of the game we're playing. Come on. I'm
Just
supposed to be
jam
safe. I'm supposed to be safe. My auras are supposed to be safe. What's going on?
just slams like destroy all enchantments. What the
Yeah.
fuck you playing that card in your main deck?
Yeah.
Like,
Fucking Back to Basics. That's a card that just got added. I didn't even bring that up. Back to Basics. That's not the card. Sorry. Back to Nature. Back to Nature is the card.
yeah.
Um, Back to Basics does something else. It's blue. Back to Nature is like a 2 mana sorcery, destroy all enchantments, and it's just getting played in sideboards. What is this? No, it's
feel
not
like
fair.
I feel like
That's not.
they missed an opportunity for back to basics to destroy all non-basic lands.
Yeah. Wait, what does even Back to Basics do? Real quick. I don't even know. Does it just like do it's Back to Basics? It's something like that, right?
I
Oh,
think
it's just
maybe
it's an enchantment. Non-basic lands don't untap during the controller's untap
yeah.
steps.
All right, that's pretty good.
That's close.
Pretty good. Yeah.
But it doesn't destroy them, which feels so
Yeah.
much better.
That's yeah.
Mhm. It should be white, but I guess blue is Back to Basics. I don't understand. That sounds like a green thing, honestly.
Not untapping is a blue thing though. Like
It's true. It's
freezing.
true.
Yeah.
But I kind of like the idea of green being like, you should be only green.
Yeah.
Fuck
Yeah.
everything else. And, I don't know, 5 mana, destroy all non basic lands.
Destroy all non-basic forests.
Oh, okay. Interesting. That would be very interesting card. Um, just like a bunch of like tri-lands and stuff like
Yeah.
that. Okay, all right. I like
Oop,
it. I
that
like
one
it.
does that say forest on it?
Yeah.
Sucks to be you.
I mean, honestly, if we're trying to fight against these like Niv Mizzet decks or whatever, yeah, just bring back Boil. Just like destroy all planes plains islands. Wildfires destroys all planes.
How does
Um,
wasn't there like a Modern Masters card that is the green version of Urborg?
yes.
So can you combo that? Like you jam that and then be like destroy all non-basic forests, and those are all forests.
Yeah,
So
it's all the lands.
yeah.
All the non-basic lands, yeah.
Yeah.
Including the Yavimaya
Including it.
Hollow.
Yeah, that's right.
Yavimaya, Cradle of Yavimaya? What is it? Something like that. It's Yavimaya something,
It has to do with Yavimaya, I agree.
of course. God, there's so many cards with Yav. Oh,
It's probably the opposite of a tomb, right? So it's some sort of
yeah, it's called. Yeah, you're right. It's Yavimaya Cradle of Growth. So
yeah.
the cradle, of course, being the opposite of tomb. I see what you did there, Wizards. Very
Yeah.
smart. But no, Back to Basics would be great if we had it in the format. We do have another blue card that added to the format, which is part of one of the best decks. And I mean, like, it's good we have it, I guess. But like, is it?
It wasn't a super important part of the deck, I don't think.
It's not. It was like a one of fun of almost, but it was in
Yeah.
just about every winning list. Temporal Trespass
Yeah.
is a card that got added to Is It Phoenix, which is one of the best decks in the format. It's 8 blue, blue, blue for a sorcery with it says take an extra turn after this one, exile Temporal Trespass. Oh, well, wait. It also has Delve. So, like,
Okay, it's like 11. It's a lot.
it is a lot. What about 3?
Yeah, that's still a lot.
3 blue, blue, blue is a lot, but take an extra turn is also great.
Yeah, very
Um,
powerful ability.
having a-
I actually kind of think this is. I don't know if Phoenix should really be playing this, to be honest. But
Most of the time, this just feels like aggravated assault or something like that,
yeah,
where you're like, oh, I can untap and just like win, like beat them or whatever on the crackback, and they're like, no, you don't get another turn. Sorry.
yeah, it's hard for me to believe that this is turning the tide. Like that there are games that you would have lost if this card was not in your deck, but because
Mm,
it was in your deck and you
you
got
win.
that extra turn, you win. It feels like some maybe you win faster. I don't know. Like it,
I do think so. I have I
you play really tight racing games, I guess. So
yes,
that
I
might be
do.
why I'm not seeing it quite as much. But
And maybe it's like
usually
a
if I lose to Phoenix, it's like, yeah, I kind of got.
and most of mine are like if I had one more turn, you're dead. And this is the card that's like, did you need one more turn? Did
Yeah.
just one more? Oh, sorry, I
Yeah.
stole it. That's what
Yeah.
it feels like to me. So I hate this card. Um,
Fair enough. Yeah.
but it's one of the cards that's like the best deck in the format that's played everywhere, and you don't have every card in the list in Arena. And we had the actual like set that this card came out in last
Yeah.
year, this
Fate.
time,
This is
which
a
was
Fate Reforged card,
this was
right?
from Fate Reforged and Cons Remastered or whatever didn't have this. I get it or whatever, but like, come on, we
Yeah.
give us the card that actually matters in the format. If it's in the best deck list and everybody wants to play it, and you go and find the deck from the Pioneer tournament and you try to paste it into Arena and it says, "Sorry, I don't know what Temporal Trespass is." Like,
Yeah.
and you have to go in and like manually delete Temporal Trespass just to put it in the. That's annoying. That's so
Yeah.
annoying. I this is mainly why I'm happy that this is here, right?
For sure. Usually if my um is it Phoenix opponent starts delving, because Arena is so funny where you
Mm,
can see that they're delving. If they cast this, I'm like, phew, thank fucking God.
yeah,
Like, they're not drawing three cards. They're just attacking me with the 3/2 again. Cool. So
yeah. It's not just 1-3-2. You know, it's
yeah, they
multiple.
they had to exile the other two to cast this
Yeah.
card. So.
Oh, what's really happening is that their ledger shredder is well, like
Oh yeah,
when I play
their
this,
Ledger Shredder's like an 8/10 or
yeah,
something.
when their ledger shredder is huge and I can't deal with it. I can't even attack through it because their ledger shredder is gigantic. And
Yeah.
then they happen to attack with an extra 6 damage from the stupid phoenixes that I don't even care about. But oh, and then I'm at 3, but they fucking take another turn and win the game. That's what happens to me. Okay.
Okay, so
Put some respect on Temporal Trespass's name, Jeff.
hey, I mean, like people who play Phoenix are have decided it's correct to play one. So
That's right. That's right.
I'm always like, whew, glad they had temporal trespass instead of something that was relevant. But
That is true. When they have like 4 lands and 3 of them tap, and you're like, oh, so no phoenixes this turn? Sick. All right.
it's so often like it feels like an expensive opt or something. They're just
Hmm.
like, let me draw again. Like that card, I didn't want that card.
Yeah,
Um,
that's true.
but I just want to take this time to say that like I think Phoenix as a best deck is a really good spot to like target for Pioneer. I think
Hmm.
I like playing against Phoenix. I think it's strong, but it has games where it just does nothing. Like it just
Yeah.
sucks. And it has games where it goes off, but it still doesn't feel like, oh, there was nothing I could have done.
Hmm.
That was just like I was just super dead. Like it's still just playing a bunch of kind of crappy creatures. It has
Hmm.
very few threats. If you just like kill all its threats, it doesn't do anything. Like
It has a
I love
lot of air. There's
I
so
think
much
Phoenix
air.
is one of the best possible like best decks of the format. It's not a deck I would ever play myself
Yeah.
because I just don't enjoy those air cards that it plays. And,
Hmm.
I've talked about that before, but I hate opt. But like I like playing against Phoenix, and it just feels exciting. It's like there's this pressure thing. It never feels like I just can't win because their deck's too good, but it
Hmm.
always feels like I have to respect their deck because at any time they could just be draw Treasure Cruise and be right back in the fucking game. And yeah, it's just a really I think this is like the example of what you want your best deck in the format to look like, I think.
I absolutely agree. I think that all the things you said Yes, this can definitely be the best format, or sorry, best deck in the format. And there's a great video on YouTube. There's a guy who like put this amazing thing together where he like was building the deck that he wanted to play for his first like Pioneer RCQ, and it was Phoenix. And he like got all these cards together and did this whole thing that he put together. It's really wonderful. Maybe like Phoenix a lot more just from seeing it from a player's
Yeah,
perspective,
yeah.
but also just because like yeah, Phoenix is like this is a really good, interesting deck to have. Like, imagine Lotus Field Combo is the best deck, and all the new players are just that's the deck you're supposed to play.
Right.
Like, this is the like having the best like a format that's really important for Magic and really important for Magic's like competitive scene has to be interesting and cool. Like, is actually important, right?
Yeah.
Like, Wizards wants this to be real, and showing off like, hey, you can play Magic and just like masturbate with yourself and like play all your cards and then
Yeah.
like do nothing with your opponent. Is that fun for you? I think that Yu-Gi-Oh players have talked about how they don't like that for their whole game a lot of
Right.
times. Phoenix is fair can be fairly interactive. It does have air, but it does have a lot of interactive stuff where it's doing things and can be like can seem like a graveyard deck without actually being a graveyard deck. Like weirdly, there are like 8 cards in the deck that actually care about the graveyard, and the rest of them don't.
Yeah.
So you can over sideboard into that matchup, which is a fun, interesting. I think an interesting learning point for a lot of people. Being like,
Totally.
is this
Yeah.
actually a graveyard deck or is it actually not? And it also depends on how your opponent plays and all those kinds of things. So um, I agree. This is a great deck. I
Like, do you bring in Leyline of the Void against Phoenix, right? Like,
yeah.
does that hamper you more or them?
Hmm.
It turns off their Phoenixes and their treasure cruises. So it does hamper if you have the Leyline,
Hmm.
it hurts them more than you.
Then you.
But you have to side a bunch of Leylines into your deck that are terrible
Yeah.
if
And are
you don't
you
have them in your opener.
and it's also like how important is it to you for you to mulligan to your ley line, right? Similar to like I like the deck I'm playing is like Rest in Peace, but it's the same
Yeah.
thing. It's like, am I trying to like if I have a starting hand of like 4 lands, Rest in Peace, and 2 auras, like am I playing this hand? Like no, it's not good
Yeah.
enough. Like it doesn't do anything.
The biggest difference, Rest in Peace, is less terrible when you just draw it. Like
Hmm.
Leyline is 4 mana and does not exile their graveyard.
Right.
It's like things moving forward will not enter the graveyard. It's
Yeah.
like, okay, but
I
that's
needed
that's
this.
awful.
Yeah.
And they can just like bounce the ley line and keep doing it.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I think like the dream of having
Hmm.
Leyline in your opener against Phoenix is nice, but pe I don't think you should be siding because what happens is you mulligan, like you talked about, do you mulligan to your Leyline? You mulligan to your Leyline, then you just lose to a Ledger Shredder.
Yeah.
Which is what
Or
happens.
like not even like Ledger Shredder, yes, but sometimes it's even just like the fucking fairy
Pick Clock Prankster.
picklock prankster with like Prof's eidetic memory or whatever, and you're like, oh, cool. I guess that's huge now.
It is
Just
annoying that Pick Clock Prankster's adventure works when you have Leyline. It's like it doesn't mill all the cards like normally does, but they still get to pick one, right?
wait, what? Wait. This is news to me. What are you saying?
Like Picklock Prankster says, look at 5, pick one, and
And mill the
forebody
rest?
upgrade. Yeah,
Oh my
but they still get
God.
the card, right? So it's like it doesn't even shut that off. It just kind of
It just means like,
uh,
hey, which one do you want? You won't get any of the other ones ever.
yeah.
Oh, that's
You,
gross.
usually Picklock's just crazy because you dump the phoenixes
Hmm.
and you pick up the spell you need or whatever. But
Yeah.
it doesn't even really like turn off all of their card selection and stuff. So I don't know.
Ugh.
Graveyard that and it's exactly the point you brought up. It's
Mhm.
like it's a graveyard deck, but it doesn't need the graveyard to kill you.
Yeah, it's like it makes people think that it is, you know.
Yeah.
which I think is a great test for new players, and I think is really important and great deck for the format. Um, let's keep moving on. We have a few more cards to talk about, and then just kind of a rapid fire list right after that. We do have Oath of Nissa just entered the format. This was for a deck that got banned,
Yeah, I was just
basically.
saying Green Devotion.
Yeah, Green Devotion. Karn got banned while this was like in the process of becoming part of the format. Um, but it's a single green for a
Is that
legendary
true? Karn
enchantment.
got banned so long ago.
Last year, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
right, I guess they just work that far in advance.
They do, I guess. But like kind of embarrassing that it's like, yeah, we didn't even have the deck that was dominant in Pioneer. We didn't have all the pieces of it, and it still got banned. So
Yeah.
kind of a weird thing for us. Well, we were on Arena being like, this deck is fine, and like this,
Yeah,
I
I'm
don't know.
not that worried about
I
mono
don't.
green.
I don't know if Oath of Nissa was the card that put it over the top or not, but this is a single green for a legendary enchantment. It says when it enters, look at the top three cards of your library, reveal a creature, land, or planeswalker from among them, put it into your hand, and the rest on the bottom. You may spend mana as though it were mana of any color to cast planeswalker spells. That didn't really matter because you had a colorless planeswalker and a hybrid planeswalker. Your mono green doesn't matter.
Yeah, all the planeswalkers are green.
Hmm. But a card that lets you look at the top three, get a creature, land, or planeswalker ended up being consistent enough and helpful that
I
it
mean,
was
that's
very
pretty
useful.
strong, right? Like,
Yeah, it gets all the things you really need, right?
yeah.
Um, either something early or something late. The
So
only thing
it
it
was
didn't get.
basically like a super opt because you look at three instead of
Hmm.
two,
Yeah,
and it counts as devotion because it's stuck around on the battlefield.
that's true. It does stick around, which is pretty important, as opposed to the other versions that kind of didn't. So it
Yeah,
does add to your mana count later.
that's why this was the one.
Yes, this was the one. It seems kind of small and innocuous, but yeah, probably made the difference. But we don't see it very much anymore. Though I saw one person playing this deck, but I did not see the specific card in
Mono
it.
green is still a deck; it can still do things, but
Hmm.
without Karn, it's a lot less scary. It's just like a bunch of big stuff that gets rammed out
Hmm.
pretty quickly.
Yeah,
It doesn't have the just like you
inevitability kind of.
lose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it didn't. It misses the toolboxness, right? Bring to Light is so good because it has a toolbox version of like, hey, I'm gonna go get
Yeah.
whatever I have in my deck. Um, and Mono Green Devotion had the same thing of like, Karn lets me get whatever piece I need, but it's in my sideboard, so you can't even like get
Yeah.
it, and I take it whenever I want. And you have to kind of know the sideboard of your opponent to know like what are they going to get with Karn. There's like 15 different cards they could get. Um,
And Karn also like instantly shut off a lot of things that mattered at the time
that's also
as well.
true. Which just
Treasures and whatnot.
yeah. It turns off all of your opponent's like tap abilities for their artifacts. So like weirdly interacted negatively with stuff. And they're like,
Yeah.
hey, turns out not Mycosynth Lattice. I guess this is just this card plus Mycosynth Lattice is really
Yeah.
good. Was there another card that turned off Null Rod? There's
Oh,
another
the one
card.
that turned off. Yeah, it is Null Rod. Yeah.
Null Rod, yeah. Null Rod just like turns off all of your opponent's like artifact abilities.
But Mycosynth Lattice made your opponent's lands into artifacts, so
So
they
they
couldn't tap.
do anything. Yeah. That's a commander combo that was really fun in our playgroup for a while.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's one of those like, do we want to keep playing, or you guys can't tap your lands anymore? Like,
Should I?
should we just?
My
Should we
plan
just?
is to loop Pyrite Spellbomb.
Yeah.
So, like, kill
Do you
all
guys?
of you.
Do you guys have a plan? Because I don't think so. Yeah. How many free spells do you have? I don't know. We also get Sylvan Caryatid, which is just a mana dork that it's like super. What is it? The Dryad. What is it? Blossoming Dryad, something like that.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
the one from
Uh,
War of the Spark. This is just
Paradise Druid.
Paradise Druid, Blossoming Dryad.
You
Yeah,
got me there. I knew which card you were talking
we
about.
were close. This is a 2 mana 0/3. It taps for any color, but it has Defender and Hexproof.
Yeah.
I love that it has Hexproof, but Defender really screws it up, man. Oof. Um, but that's been
Yeah, this is
around quite a bit.
played like for a while. It was played in the Niv to Light decks. I don't know if it's
Hmm.
still
Hmm.
it is. Yeah, so
Yeah.
just because it taps for any color
Yeah.
facilitates things.
Can't get killed. Bolt the bird doesn't matter.
Nice
Um,
try.
there is a fun card. This thing I thought you might want to read and talk about.
Okay.
Because it seems like a deck that Jeff might be interested in playing.
Okay, so this is Soul Flare. It's 4 black, black for a demon with Delve. It's a 4/4. If a creature card with flying was exiled with its Delve ability, it has flying. The same is true for First Strike, Double Strike, Death Touch, Haste, Hexproof, Indestructible, Lifelink, Reach, Trample, and Vigilance.
Hmm.
Um, really cool card, and there have been decks built around this where you basically get like a black, black for a 4/4 with a bunch of crazy keywords.
Hmm.
Um, like Satalpa or thing is the way the traditional way you get like indestructible.
Hmm. And
Generally, you
flying
want
and double
hex.
strike and
Yeah,
vigilance
yeah, I
and
guess, but
indestructible.
really you want like hexproof and indestructible are the things
Hmm.
you're searching for here, and then all the other keywords sort of are bonuses. Um, and so you build sort of like a Sultai self-mill deck that is aiming to play this like 2 mana unreasonable threat. It's never been my favorite archetype. I've always like respected the drip, but never
Hmm.
actually played this. And it's cool. I think giving people this option is one safe. This is never going to be the dominant deck. It's
Hmm.
very easy to hate on. Um, but two, it's very cool. And like you said previously, like it's important that things are cool.
Yeah.
And like this can be very powerful. So it's
Hmm.
something when you're playing in Soul Flare, you have to respect it that they could just play something that you might not be able to get off the board
That like
and you're
I
gonna lose
can't,
to.
Boggles can't handle sometimes. You're like, wait.
Yeah.
That I can get bigger than you sometimes, but like you can have multiple of these or something like. And so this is definitely a graveyard deck where you're like, I need rest in peace, and it
Yeah.
does take care of the problem. Where you're like, if you don't have a graveyard, you can't delve at all, and you can't get any keywords. This is a 6 mana 4/4,
Yeah.
and
Or edict effects or like there are
that's true.
ways to beat Soul Flare, but if you don't have those ways handy,
Hmm.
you're gonna lose to it.
Yes. Okay. So we have a list of a few cards that are the end of the whole thing for Pioneer Masters. We have. I don't know if we just like just rattle these off, or this is just kind of a list that I built.
Yeah.
Um, whether they're like super important or not, these ones don't matter as much, but you will possibly see around. Um, so we have Urborg, Tomb of Yawgmoth, which is similar to the card we were talking about before, that, and the non-existent land hate card.
Yeah.
But this card is just a land. It turns every land into a swamp. So anything that cares about swamps, important for this card.
Love
Um,
Urborg. I play a lot of black decks, and you basically always include this in your black
yeah,
decks.
really important for like. Obviously, it was good with Cabal coffers. We don't get to have that type of strength in our format here, but we do have
That'd be
Cabal.
nuts, man.
What is the
Stronghold.
Stronghold? Thank you, Cabal Stronghold, which is the one from Dominaria.
Yeah.
That
But
deals
if you're gonna play Cabal Stronghold, you're gonna be playing all swamps anyways. So.
exactly. So, but this turns your Cabal Stronghold into a swamp, so might as well.
Fair. Yeah.
Um, Also, Wild Slash. This is the card that red decks have needed for a while. It's just a single red for an instant. It has Ferocious. So if you control a creature with power 4 or greater, damage can't be countered, or sorry, can't be prevented this turn. but it deals 2 damage to any target. This is just a card that helps you get through protection and things like that.
Yeah.
Similar to like Bone Crusher Giant does a very similar effect as this card. If you're playing some of those types of decks, but this was one of the cards that you would see in like mono red sideboards often enough.
Yep.
We also have Azorius Charm. Jeff, do you want to give us Azorius Charm?
Sure. Soria's Charm is white and a blue instant. You get to choose one of the following. Creatures you control gain lifelink till end of turn, draw a card, or put target attacking or blocking creature on top of its owner's library.
I don't like this card.
You don't.
I don't like that it goes so this is old templating. This card is from Return to Ravnica. The put target attacking or blocking creature on top of its owner's library. All the cards we get now say target attacking or blocking creature's controller puts it on the top or bottom of their library. This forces me to draw the stupid card over and over again.
Yes.
It's really good and annoying.
Yeah.
It's so annoying.
Azorius Charm is quite good for Azorius deck, like control
Mhm.
decks, because you can always just cycle it. The lifelink can randomly matter, but
Mhm.
mostly it's like a removal spell that you could cycle.
Just a fate seal, like kind
Yeah.
of. I I often also am playing decks where bouncing my creatures is really bad, but making me draw them again is really bad. And
Yeah,
if,
but your creatures shouldn't be targetable, so
oh, sometimes they are. Sometimes I can't help it. But even in draft,
don't
like
attack with your light paws to Azorius Charm.
that's true. That's you're right. I shouldn't block with it either. Just like don't just sit there.
They attack with a 1/1. You're like, snap block. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
You're like, again?
I thought they wanted to throw it away. No, but I think specifically in draft, Azorius Charm has fucked me up so many
Yeah,
times.
Azorius Charm's very good, very strong in draft.
It's just like, come on, buddy. I have to draw this again? Fuck me. I hate Azorius Charm.
But sometimes you're on the other end of it where it's like, I prefer the other card where maybe they might put their bomb on the bottom.
Yeah.
I have that hope.
Yeah, that's true. They won't recast it.
Yeah.
I just happen to be a player that plays with shitty creatures, so I would
Yeah,
not want
I don't
to
have any good cards. I never want to draw whatever's on top of my
whatever.
deck.
No, I don't want that. We have another card that was pretty important for Pioneer at a certain point. Gruul decks or Boros decks cared about this card. Reckless Bushwhacker is 2 and a red for a 2/1 Goblin Warrior ally. It has Surge, which is 1 and a red, which basically, if you or a partner have played another spell this turn, it only costs 1 and a red. So this card, if you've played any 2-drop earlier than this only costs 2. Or it doesn't matter, a card. It has haste. It says when it enters, if its surge cost was paid, other creatures you control get +1/+0 and gain haste. So obviously you get to play a creature, then play this for cheaper, and they both attack.
Yes.
I just think
I like this card. I think power levels kind of moved beyond this type of thing,
yeah,
but I like this design.
I agree. I like this card quite a bit. It is like we know this as like the card from Wilds of Eldraine, which is
Yeah.
all over standard and Boros Convoke decks and all that stuff. This is the one of the OG ones, all right. So,
Yeah.
you know, put some respect on this guy, but but yeah, I like having it as an option for sure, for sure.
Yep.
One of those ones where I think decks were switching over to it, and it was like, oh, we didn't have that option on Arena. Jeff, can you read us Chains to the Rocks?
Chain of the Rocks. This is 1 white for an aura. Zach loves auras. This
Hmm.
says enchant mountain you control. When chained to the rocks, enters exile target creature an opponent controls until it leaves the battlefield. Um, yeah, very cool. Like one mana is very strong for this O-ring type ability.
Yeah, wait,
Um,
you said Enchanta Plains, right?
no, sorry, you have to enchant a mountain. So,
A
uh,
mountain?
yes. So for all of us Boros aficionados out there, this one's for you. Although generally people just like chuck. They just like put I can't even remember the name of the fucking red white duel, but you just like put some mountains in your
Oh,
white
Sacred
decks and
Foundry?
yeah, Sacred Boundary.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, this is one of those cards that like it feels like a head scratcher when you first look at it. Like, wait,
Yeah.
it's white, but it cares about mountains. That's weird. And there's just no red on the card. You often are
Yeah.
just ready for this. Just looks like a mono white card, and it is in fact a Boros card.
Yeah.
Um, but just a great removal spell. Um,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Obviously, we have gotten other versions of this at 2 mana,
Yeah.
but one you can't be beat. One's
Yeah.
so strong.
One's the name of the game.
Yeah, two is twice as much, right? Um,
It's true. As a
Speaking of,
mathematician, I confirm that.
yeah, it's true. Speaking of twice as much, we have a one and a white for Spirit of the Labyrinth. This is a sideboard card that's used in several decks. It's three and a one for an enchantment creature Spirit. Each player can't draw more than one card each turn. Um, Obviously good against any deck that is drawing a million cards, including Lotus Field combo, including Phoenix, anything like that.
Boggles.
Don't bring that one up. Sorry. That's embarrassing. Though, to be fair, Boggles doesn't always draw a million cards.
It's true. It's light pausing and
Light
stuff.
Pause is just putting stuff straight into
Yeah.
play. So,
I'm used to the old core Spirit Dancer days.
Mhm. So this card actually, the reason that this card's interesting is because you can put this in the sideboard of Boggles, and it doesn't hurt your deck, but it can hurt other people's decks if you're
Right.
playing Light
Swap out the
Pause.
SRAMs, maybe.
Yeah, definitely swap out the Shrams. Um, so yes. Also, it's a creature, which is actually huge for Boggles,
And
because
hey,
having
three
creatures is
power.
important. Yeah, 3 power, no joke, right there. One
Yeah.
toughness, you might die to some tokens, but who knows? Jeff, this last one's for you. We
Thank
saved
you for
this
putting
one.
this on the list.
I
Yeah.
knew that you wanted to talk about this card, and I thought it was best
Finally.
to let you do it. Yeah.
Finally, this card's on Arena. This is one of my favorite cards, full
Hmm.
stop. And this is Jace Vryn's Prodigy. This is one of the
Hmm.
blue for an 0/2. You can tap it to draw a card and discard a card. Then, if there are five or more cards in your graveyard, you exile it, return them to the battlefield transformed. The other side is a planeswalker with a whopping 5 loyalty. His
Hmm.
+1 is up to one target creature gets -2/-0 until your next turn. -3, you get to flashback instant or sorcery card from your graveyard. -9 is an emblem. Whenever you cast a spell, your opponent mills 5 cards. I love this card. I played a lot of this card. I will definitely play more of this card. Like, I
Hmm.
already see 4 mythic rare wild cards depleting from my
Hmm.
collection as I see that this card is now in the format. I love it's just like the type of decks. The thing that this is asking you to do, I think, is really cool.
Hmm.
And the payoff is there for it. Like 2 mana. The planeswalker that you get for 2 mana is crazy. You just have to jump through a few hoops of trying to get 5 cards in your graveyard. And I want to play these Sultai Delirium decks anyways, so I'm here for it. This card was a big part of Pioneer in the early days,
Hmm.
when Sultai was like the deck to beat. I mean, yes, that was largely because Uro was legal in the format, but also Jace was in those decks and was very relevant. So uh, I think it's cool to add them here as well, where it's like a
Definitely.
nod to the format's beginnings of like this card was in the most dominant deck.
JVP. JVP.
Yes,
JVP.
love it.
So, um, definitely important. I think this is a card that should be thought about and seen in the format. We don't see it quite often enough, and I would like to see more of it, and
Yeah.
especially in decks that Jeff is making. Because, you know, as usual, I'll be stealing those decks and playing them as well.
The reason you don't see it is like everyone looks at this card as like it's a control card. But the
Hmm.
thing is, you don't generally want to play creatures in your control deck. So it
Hmm.
has that like, those puts and takes to it where it's like, I'm a creature that will pay you off, but I'm a creature. So
Hmm.
you have to be a deck that is okay with playing creatures and wants the upside that Jace provides. So
Yeah.
I tend to like those kinds of decks a lot.
Yeah.
But most people just want to either attack with their creatures or not have any creatures. So
Hmm. Or block those sweet, sweet 1/1s, you know?
yeah, yeah, those Glade cover scouts that have no pants on them.
No
Block.
pins. And Shard Mage's Rescue.
Worth it.
Worth it. Worth it. Worth it.
I will,
Anyway,
before I die, I will loot.
I will loot.
And that's by the way, my favorite thing with Jace Vryn's Prodigy. You might not know from reading the card. If you have four cards in your graveyard, you can block the ginormous Glade Cover Scout
Mhm.
and before damage, loot, and he will transform into a Planeswalker. And unless that Glades Cover Scout somehow has trample, you will actually not. I
So,
can't imagine a
somehow.
possible way in which it could have trample, but you will take no damage. So
Oh,
you
the
can't target it with Jace's Plus later, but
yeah, yeah. The audacity of such a statement that a Glade Cover Scout would not have trample is crazy. Um. Anyway, Jeff, do you have any more last thoughts before we go to last call?
um, yeah, I think they did a good job with Pioneer Masters. Cool set. I haven't drafted it, so I don't know how the draft format lines up, but they hit the things they needed to hit here, right? Like
Hmm.
there were just some decks missing from the format. Um, they bridged that gap. Like the stuff that's, if you look at a recent Pioneer event, the cards that did well or that are not in his in Explorer yet, it's all like random removal spells that are slightly more efficient than what we have in Explorer
Hmm.
or like more tailored to the metagame. It's nothing fundamental in terms of what decks you can play. So
Yeah.
they got us most of the way there with this. The formats are going to be very similar. The only differences will just be in like removal suite choices,
Hmm.
basically, and like what interaction you decide to play. And I think that's a totally reasonable place to be. Um, so,
Yeah. I I definitely agree. I don't want this to be the end of where we are. I don't want
oh
this to
yeah,
be like, oh, Pioneer's done.
yeah,
I would like them to please continue to look at the format and add cards when they can as
yes,
quickly and as much as possible. Because I don't
good
want
call
to
out. Yeah, I agree
yeah.
with that.
I don't want it to grow into, oh, once again, Explorer is so much different than Pioneer and we have to have another full set of draftable cards for this to
Right.
you know, I most people who are playing Pioneer don't care about the draft part. The draft format is fun. I've played it. It was cool. Um, but you know, honestly, I don't need to draft it a bunch. I know that
Yeah,
it like these Masters formats tend to not be my favorite draft formats because uh finding like it's not really a cube. I don't know. It just feels like
yeah,
we're just trying to make it draftable so it feels more palatable for consumers as opposed
totally.
to we want to make a really good draft format. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
That's
I think
definitely what they're doing, right?
yeah,
They're the goal of the set is to release Pioneer cards.
yes.
The
Like
draftability is a secondary goal.
the fact that they're like, oh, well, Glade cover scouts in it, so let's add a bunch of heroic cards. Like,
Right.
okay, there's like a million bestow creatures in this draft format. I'm like,
Yeah.
cool. Some of these suck ass. Like they're so bad. Cool. Thanks though. Like
Yeah.
I'm like
Appreciate
I
that.
love targeting my own creatures, but like this is too much.
Yeah.
Like oh six mana for like 2/2, and it
Plus
has
two, plus two, yeah.
like intimidate or something. Like oh cool. Like I'm not that
Can't wait to
interested.
jam that one in my deck.
Yeah, did you not hear that I like cheap cards like
Yeah.
1 and 2 drops? That's what
Zach doesn't pay more than 2 mana for stuff.
for anything for
Yeah.
spells like 3. See you later.
Too expensive.
Too expensive. So anyway, that's kind of been my experience with the format. So when I would like them to be fast and efficient with, hey, there's a new card. We have a spree of like 20 cards we need to add. Just
Here you
get
go.
on it. You
Yeah.
know, even if by the time you get them out, they're kind of old, just do it anyway. You know, we will need them in the future. You never know. It like formats move so much. It's nice to have
sure.
all the pieces. So
Yeah.
that's what I would like.
But I think we're in a spot where they could do that. Now they can just
Yes.
be like, here's like 10 cards that we're missing. Here you go. Like
I agree.
we're bridging small gaps now.
Mhm.
Right.
Yes, absolutely bridging of small gaps. And I think that this was a huge, huge push to the future. So I'm very happy with it overall. Thank
Yeah.
you for making Pioneer Horizons. Horizons Masters. Holy shit. Anyway,
Whatever.
it is that time of the night.
Yeah.
Jeff, let's go to last call. Let's talk about this beer
do
we
it.
had this evening. This Cartwright Springs thing.
Yeah.
Um,
Projet de stage.
Dish Dash, project of the stage. So, as always, yeah, don't try to. That's just what it looks like to me. As always, we rate our beers on a scale from bronze to mythic, just like the tiers in Arena. So, everyone's in a different tier at different times, so don't feel bad if we're talking about your tier because, like, honestly, it doesn't really matter. In the end of the day, we're all playing Magic, so who cares?
Yeah.
I just want to say that because bronze beers are trash. They're horrible. They're really bad. You have
Yeah.
to spit them out, pour them on the ground. You can't finish them. You hate them. They're like,
Yeah.
yeah, ugh.
Silver are just kind of bad or boring. So macro brews that don't have a lot going on are just kind of or bad beers. They don't have
Yeah.
themselves here.
Yeah. Gold beers are fine, but you wouldn't really drink them very often.
And platinum is solid, and you would have this again for sure.
Yeah. Diamond beers are exceptional. You like these a lot, and you show them off to your friends.
And mythic, these are the best of the best. These are the bring to lights of the beer world.
Ugh. These are the Glade cover scouts of the world. Come on.
All right, hidden strings. We'll settle them.
Oh, get the fuck out of here.
It probably
buddy.
is the best card that was released.
Get the fuck out of here. Not even letting you say that. What did you think about this beer from Cartwright Springs?
All right, so I talked about a little bit about what Projet de stage meant.
Yes.
If this was the Projet de stage, the summary assignment for them, their brewery degree, and I was the professor, they would have failed.
They would have failed so
No.
hard.
I'd be like, how did you get this far? In the degree?
Start over.
Yeah. You are banished. You are banished from the school. I didn't like it.
This
There was very little that I liked about this beer.
I don't know if there was anything I liked about this
Yeah.
beer.
No.
There was no sediment in it. That was nice.
Yeah, that did suck.
Yeah.
Like it was carbonated.
Yeah, that's true. It was carbonated. It didn't feel flat. It felt like sour and strange.
Yeah,
But
but
also-
not like a good kind of sour. It was
No.
fruity and sour, which makes me think, was this supposed to be like a Belgian ale? Was that what they're after here?
Maybe it it brings me back to some of the other beers where I'm like, was this supposed to taste like kind of sour?
Yeah.
Because some of the
Did,
other ones did that too to me, and I'm like, I don't.
did did they make a sour beer in some of their equipment and then try to make other
Other
beers that were
beers,
not meant to be sour in that equipment? Because that,
maybe that's what happened. Like this tastes like that, and they just like are just can't notice that. I don't know.
yeah,
I've uh,
this was like sweet and sour and had a bit of body to it, but none of that was in the good way.
no,
Like, I
no,
didn't like the sweetness, I didn't
no,
like the sourness, and
no,
the body wasn't right.
no, none of it. Yeah, I didn't like this at all. I drank most of it,
I
and
did drink it all, but I still
it
kind
doesn't
of want to
matter.
give I still kind of want to give this bronze.
Bronze,
I just didn't like
like,
this.
doesn't I didn't like it either.
I took one sip and was like, "Whoa,
I
I hate
knew
this."
immediately, and like every second, I was like, can I open my other beer? Can we
Yeah.
just
It's
not
like, oh, I
drink
still have
this?
so much left.
And I've like I don't think there have been a lot of beers on this show, but like rarely have I felt like, oh my God, I can't wait to not be drinking this anymore.
Yeah, that was bad.
That was bad. That was, yep, super bronze, worst of them all. Like honestly with this brewery, we started with the best of the best. It was so good.
That's the one I tried at the brewery,
It
and I
was
was like,
so
"This was
good.
really good. I'm gonna buy all your stuff."
And then we've had maybe one that was close, but the rest have been
Yeah.
kind of bad. But like this one was the worst. Like,
Yeah. This was the worst tap takeover ever.
it's not. No, no, no. I don't know if that's true. I think it's that um the variance was so different because one of them was so good. It wasn't
Yeah.
like medium to bad. It was like amazing to
Awful.
like really bad. So like
Yeah.
that like it was so confusing because like some
Yeah.
of the beers were like there were two that were like this is really good. Like I really
Yeah.
like this. And then a bunch of them that were like this is act like I cannot serve this. Like
Yeah. I think my takeaway is he should let his son make all the beer
yes.
because that
Yes.
was the good one.
I want more of that one. That
Yeah.
one was so good. Um, crazy. That's hilarious. Well, I'm really happy that we got to taste this, and I don't have any words to say to the Cartwright Springs folks. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's my honest opinion. Oof. Anyway, I'm really happy that we got to taste all of them, though.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Uh, that was
never.
one of the more fun ones because, like
It
you said, the
was.
variance was off the charts.
It
Went
was
from
up and
awesome
down.
to terrible with some bads in the middle and some good.
Yeah, it's not like Whitewater where it's like, oh, this is all terrible. I can't even
Yeah.
do this on the show.
Yeah.
Like, at least it was like up and down. We got a roller coaster here. It was always like a surprise in the box. Like, what's
Yeah. I
it
was like,
gonna
is this going
be?
to
I
be one
don't
of the
know.
good ones or one of the bad ones?
So that
And I
was
love how we
exciting.
went from one that was like the first one we tried was awesome and it was the best one. And the last one we tried was terrible and it was the worst one.
Yeah, it's hilarious. But I'm very happy that we got to try all of them. So thank you again for grabbing those, and thank you, Cartwright, for letting us
Yeah.
talk about them on our show. We didn't ask you, but we did anyway.
Yeah.
Um, anyway, it's closing time. So instead of talking about beer, let's talk about how you can help us out. If you want to talk to us personally, you can find us at the Arena Regulars on Twitter and Instagram.
May also find us on Arena itself, username Arena Regulars Podcast.
If you want to talk to me, you can find me at Zulberg, that is Zeulberg on Twitter and Instagram, also Blue Sky. But Jeff, where can they find you?
Best place is on our Discord channel. We'll be sharing deck lists. We'll be talking about beer. We'll be talking about different formats. We'll be organizing events. You
Hmm.
guys should join. The link is in the show notes. I go by Regular Jeff on there.
That's right. We just had a Peasant Cube draft. It was lots of fun. We're trying to do those a little bit more regularly. So check us out if you're interested in drafting a Arena Peasant Cube online. Lots and lots of fun. Also, please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. Follow us on Spotify. Leave us a review there as well. Go to our YouTube channel. Leave a little comment. Anything, everything helps. Just a little bit. This has been the Arena Regulars.
Reminding you that the best deck in the format is it Phoenix, and that's a pretty good thing.
Good night.
All right, that's fine.